Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I feel like it's been forever since I've talked to you guys, even though it hasn't really been for you because I pre-filmed videos, but I just got back from vacation and I did not film on vacation because I just wanted to spend time with my family. I did read though, so I figured I'd film this as like an alternative to a vlog since I've been reviewing all of my books at the end of my vlogs and not doing a wrap up. I'm just gonna do a what I read on vacation little sit down with you guys. So it should be pretty quick. I did read 5 books, but there's 2 of them that I can't talk too much about because they're like within a series. But other than that, I can talk about the other 3 and I'm very excited. I had a pretty good reading week. I didn't go crazy. I did enjoy time with my family. We went out and we did things. We sat at the beach. I did read when I was on the beach, but just kind of enjoyed having time off. So I also had a pretty large book haul, which will be in, I think, the next video you see, which will be my reset. It will be included with my monthly book haul that I do at the beginning of every month. I did buy a lot of books at the beach, but there are a bunch of indie bookstores down there. It was indie bookstore day when we were down there, so I did take advantage of like supporting those businesses. So that is what I'm telling myself to make myself feel better about the amount of books I purchased. But without further ado, we'll get into the 5 books I read on my vacation. Okay, so first of all, I will say that I read books that I could read on my Kindle because I don't like to take books with me because they take up space and I buy a lot down there and I want to save that space for the ones I purchase. So all 5 of these were read on my Kindle, starting with It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan. I got the ARC off NetGalley for this, and it comes out the 27th of May, so just about a month from now. This is my first Annabelle Monaghan book, and I was a little hesitant going in. I honestly, like, the title got me because Taylor Swift. So I've been wanting to read one of her books. I was a little hesitant because my sister did read one. I want to say she read Nora Goes Off Script and did not like it, even though I've seen a lot of people like those books. That made me nervous because her and I typically have similar book tastes. Not all the same, but similar. So I was a little nervous, but you know, I was like, this premise sounds interesting. I want to give it a try. So we're following Jane, who is a old child star. She was in this so I want to say that I read somewhere that Annabelle Monaghan used Jennette McCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died book as inspiration for Jane. So think of like that kind of a story, like a Sam and Cat situation, and Janie was Sam, Jennette McCurdy's character. So she was like the funny one. She was the sidekick, kind of, not the one that they wanted to put all of the attention on in the show, even though she was the one that had like maybe more talent than the main character. So that was like her background, and now she's a producer in Hollywood, and she is trying to get one of her scripts sold, and she wants to produce this movie called, I think, just Love Story. And there's this director of cinematography that she met as like a really cute meet cute months ago from where we start in the book, and then something happens and now they kind of like just hate each other. So he comes in and he's kind of like, well, it's not marketable, blah, 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 but I think it's a good script. I think we should still try it. It's just not marketable. So she decides to open her mouth and tell them that she can get like one of the most popular singers in the world at that point, Jack, I forget his last name, to write a song for the movie because they were friends when they were younger, and she's like, I can get him to write a song and that everyone will want to watch it because his song will be in it. Well, it was a little bit of a fib because she hasn't spoken to him in years. They did know each other as children. They had an awkward thing that happened between them that caused them to never speak again. So Dan, who is the cinematographer, takes her back to his hometown and she stays with his family because there's this festival there that Jack is supposed to be performing in. And I think you can kind of get what happens from there. So they go back to the hometown, she meets his family, sees him in a different light, sees him in different ways than she had, obviously, in LA, where he's a completely different person. She sees why he got away, all that kind of stuff, and the romance just kind of grows out of that. I really enjoyed this book, more so than I thought I was going to, because I was nervous. Was it my favorite romance? No. But it was a 3.75, that's what I rated it, and I still really think that it told a beautiful story. It definitely wasn't as like heavy on the romance, I'd say. It was a lot more of them just like getting to know each other and trust each other and opening up to each other. And I think I appreciated that too. It wasn't just like a bunch of heavy spice and feelings coming out and everything. Like there was a lot of like growth between the 2 of them individually and together. I think that sold the book more for me. Her books are also very short. It was a very quick read, a great beach read because it did take place in like Jersey, I want to say, the main part of it. So it had that like vacation feel to it. So that was a really fun way to start the vacation. and I would recommend it. Obviously, anything that I rate like 3 stars or above is a book that I would recommend. And it was I think I would say a successful first toe dip into Annabelle Monaghan, and I may read some of her other books eventually, but I am happy I got the chance to read this one. Then I read Addicted for Now by Krista and Becca Ritchie, which is the 3rd book in the Addicted series and the 3rd book overall in the Addicted/Calloway Sisters series. I believe I'm finally going to be moving on to a Calloway Sisters book next. So this was the last Lily and Lo book I will get for a little bit, I think for at least 2 more books. So this follows, this is one of the ones I can't really talk about because it follows the events of Ricochet and Lily and Lo dealing with their relationship now that the things that happened in Ricochet happened. In my mind, Ricochet was about learning about how Lo was going to deal with his addiction, and I feel like this one was heavier on Lily. Lo was still struggling. You were still seeing that like internal battle with his addiction. And if you don't know, Lily and Lo are a couple. They both have addictions. Lily is addicted to sex and Lo is addicted to alcohol. He's an alcoholic. So in the first book, I think there's a lot of enabling, and that does get dealt with, I think, very well in the next few books, which is why I've continued to read it. I gave the series a second shot with Ricochet just because the first book rubbed me a little bit of the wrong way just because of how much enabling there was, but I think that it's going in a better direction now, and I'm very excited for Rose and Connor's book as well as Daisy and Reich. I'm very excited for Daisy and Reich books, so that is why I continued reading them. But I really did enjoy the story we got between Lily and Lo in this one, and I think we're seeing them develop better habits within themselves as well as within their relationship, and I think it's being beautifully told. It's still showing them struggling. Like, obviously it's not all rainbows and butterflies for them, and I don't think it ever will be. I think that with addiction you're going to struggle with that forever, but the way that the sisters are writing it now, I think is definitely moving in a better direction for me to be able to like get through the rest of the books, just because I did not like how it was handled in the first book. But I think it's going in a better direction now, and I am very excited. I believe the next book is a Rose and Connor book, so cannot wait for that one, and I'm hoping to get to that next month, but we shall see. I gave this 4.25, which I believe is the highest I've rated one of these so far. Then I did a reread. So I read Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. I don't want to talk too much about this. I feel like a lot of people know what Harry Potter is about, but it is the 4th book in the series. This just follows Harry, Ron, Hermione during their 4th year at Hogwarts, and the whole point of this book is that the Triwizard Tournament is coming to Hogwarts, which is this tournament that was banned years ago because people were dying during it, but it's between like 3 schools, the 3 biggest magic schools in the world, I believe, at least in the European area. Yeah, I'd say the European area based on where I think that the other 2 are. So you're just following the events of that Triwizard Tournament, and you get a lot more of like the outside wizarding world in this, which is why I think that this is where the books get better, because you're bringing in a lot more characters, you're developing a more complex plot. The first books read very YA. I think this was the first time that I started to feel the writing style get out of that super YA mode and more into like, I'd say maybe middle grade into YA. We're now into YA. The first one's read very middle grade. This one's reading more YA, which is more what I can tolerate with younger reads for fantasy. So this is one of the books I also believe, in my opinion, start to get very dark. The events that happen at the end of the 4th book, really throughout the 4th book, but really the end of the 4th book, leading into what happens in the 5th book, I think that's the turn in my mind of when Harry Potter starts to go down a darker path. But we'll see. The book's not Harry himself, but I enjoyed the reread on this one. It's a very long book. I think it is the longest, if not the second longest. I can't remember if the 5th one or the 4th one is technically longer by page, but it was like 700 and some pages long. I don't know how I got through these so fast when I was younger. The first 3 I read through so quick. This one took me quite a few days. I think it was just because I was spreading it amongst reading some other books, because it is a reread for me, so it's not going to hold my attention. I know what happens, but it was just very long too. 4.25 on that one as well. Addicted for Now and Harry Potter. So the Addicted series and the Harry Potter series are on Kindle Unlimited, at least in the US, if you live in the US. That's how I read those. The Annabelle Monaghan book was an ARC that I sent to my Kindle, and so was My Friends by Frederick Bachman, which was the next book that I read. Also got that off NetGalley. Definitely my favorite Fredrik Backman book that I've read so far. I have only read A Man Called Ove and Britt Marie Was Here. I've not read like Anxious People and Beartown, which I know is some people's favorite books by him. I have never in my life highlighted a Kindle book as much as I highlighted stuff in this book. There were just like so many, there were so many like powerful statements that he made. I'm gonna get like emotional talking about it throughout this book. It dealt a lot with grief. It dealt a lot with the relationships you make and the decisions you make along the way, and how even though you grow apart from people, you build such a strong foundation at certain parts of your life with them that it doesn't matter what happens if you grow apart, if you move away, like you still would drop anything to be with those people if that's what was needed. And I think that it showed a very beautiful way for two people that were very lost in their lives at the point where they met in this book to be able to bond and learn so much from each other. And it was just, I'm gonna get like really emotional talking about it, but essentially we're following Louisa and Ted. Louisa is just on the cusp of being 18. She's been in the foster system her entire life. She's had a very rough childhood, and she considers herself like artistic, not necessarily an artist, but she has high hopes for herself. She is dealing with the loss of somebody in her life and kind of does something reckless. Ends up running into a man that ends up putting her life in a different trajectory. And she goes on this, I will call it an adventure, a trip with this guy to see something through that happens, and the things they learn from each other, and like the absolute difference that they have in the way that helps them bond, because she is basically the embodiment of his friends from his youth, but she'll like call it like it is. It's really hard to explain, but there is this painting that was done 25 years ago, I think, to the point we are in the book, and it's of these friends, Ted and his friends, and it talks about them and their childhood and what they all went through. They all had very rough childhoods as well, for many different ways. There was Ted, there was his friend, who they just keep calling the artist. He was the one that painted the picture. Jar, I want to say. I can't remember how you would say his name, but it was like with a J. And then another friend that gets introduced a little bit later, so I don't want to like go too much into that, but the way that he intertwines the story of the kids when they're in their like teens, I want to say like 14, 15, to now, and how Ted is telling Louisa the story of them in the painting and the way they bonded and all of that. It was a very beautiful story. I'm probably explaining that very terribly, but a lot of Fredrik Backman's books are character studies, and this one just got me. I don't know, like, I was in the car finishing this on the way home, so I was like, do not cry, do not cry, do not cry, because I was around my family, but I kept reading out the quotes and things that I was highlighting because they were just so impactful and so powerful, and he just has a way with saying things simply that really make you go, wow. So, yeah, that one was an excellent read for me. That was a 4.5 star. I highly recommend you pick up that book if you've liked his works at all. But that comes out, I want to say, that comes out May 6th. So that comes out like less than a week from when you'd be seeing this video. So highly, highly, highly recommend picking up that book. It was phenomenal. And then the final book that I read, I was reading this in tandem, I guess, with my friends because they're very different reads. And that was Never by Jessa Hastings. I do physically own the book because it's very beautiful. Hold on. And I wanted it. I bought it off of Book Outlet when they were having a sale. It was on there because I had heard mixed reviews about it and I was scared that I wouldn't like it, so I didn't want to pay full price for it. But it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I didn't really have to buy it at all. But I really just think it's a beautiful cover. Okay. I might be about to like piss a few people off with this statement. Was this my favorite Jessa Hastings book? No. Did I hate it? No. I didn't love it. But I don't know. I've heard a lot of people say they don't like this book. And I don't know why. I've never really heard people explain why they don't like it. If you are one of the people that do not like it, please let me know why in the comments, just because I'm very interested. Because she wrote this book based on a specific Peter Pan tale. fairy tale written by a specific author. I cannot remember who that was, but she gave those specifics. I do want to go back and read that just to see if I'm accurate in what I'm about to say. But Disney portrays Peter Pan vastly different from what he actually is. And that is a immature, selfish little boy that doesn't want to be an adult, and he doesn't want to have responsibilities, and he wants everything his way. He doesn't want to share. He wants people to do what he says, and he doesn't want to grow up. He doesn't want responsibilities. He just wants everything, but doesn't want to deal with the consequences of his actions, and doesn't think he should have to deal with the consequences of his actions. So that is Peter Pan. I know Disney has changed a lot of the fairy tales from what they originally were. I still think there's that undertone in the Disney movie, personally. It was not one I watched a lot as a child because I did not like him, but I've seen enough of the retelling, or like the reimaginings, like the live actions and all of that. But that's who he was. He was not this like friendly, happy-go-lucky boy that just took you to Neverland. Like, he kidnapped people. So like, he's not a good person. And I don't know if that was one of the reasons why people didn't like this book, because of him as a character, or if it was the back and forth between Hook and Daphne that made people mad, or Jameson, who is like Hook Jr., and Daphne. So the premise of this book is that Daphne's whole family, all of the women in her family, have been taken to Neverland by Peter Pan at some point in their life. And they keep telling her, like, he's gonna come for you, he's gonna come for you. Well, he doesn't for like years. So then she's about to turn 18, and then that summer he finally comes and gets her. And he is actually kind of grown up at that point. Physically, definitely not mentally, but physically has grown up at that point, and things kind of change now, obviously. He's a little bit older than her, I think, technically, but he takes her to Neverland, and you start to see the dark sides of Peter. But Daphne's not seeing that. She thinks he's her destiny, yada, 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 like, that's why she was there. It's okay that he's acting like a jerk. She just keeps writing off everything that he's doing. Then she meets Jameson Hook, who is like Captain Hook's son. And there's an immediate attraction there between both of them. And he makes her question a lot of the things that she knew about Neverland and Peter and what she actually wants and what her destiny is, okay? So, I don't understand how people aren't making the correlation in the writing here between Hook and Daphne to Magnolia and BJ. Because honestly, it gave me the same feeling. It made me want to strangle both of them. They both did things to hurt each other intentionally. They both couldn't be like forward with their feelings, or when they were, it like wasn't good enough, or they just were like, you're never gonna be happy with me, so I'm just gonna do this to hurt you, to make you go away from me. Massive parallels, I think, in the characters right in there. So it's shocking to me that a lot of people didn't like this book because of the similarities I saw between Jameson and Daphne and BJ and Magnolia. Like, that's just my opinion. I mean, I could see it differently, obviously, than other people did, but I saw massive similarities between the two couples. I did not like how this book ended. I will say that. I hope she does write another one, just because it was not an ending. This was supposed to be part of a series. I'm afraid she won't now because people didn't like this one, so I don't know that she's going to continue this, but I hope she does, just because I don't like unfinished stories. But anyway, that is my little soapbox rant about Never. Was it frustrating? Yes, but I kept having to tell myself that I'm not supposed to like Peter. I'm supposed to see him as the villain. I'm supposed to be mad that he's pulling the wool over Daphne's eyes over and over and over again. And I'm supposed to be mad. The only thing I didn't like was that I was mad at her and Jameson. But that happened with me and Magnolia and BJ. I hated them. I hated them as a couple in the first two books. Couldn't stand them. They did the same stuff, though, to each other that Daphne and Jameson are. So that's why I'm just confused as to why so many people that loved Magnolia Parks did not like this book. But anyway, 3-star read. Would I read the second one if she brings it out? Yes, just because I do want to know what happens. Also, and if it's anything looking like this book, I'm going to buy it, because stunning cover, stunning, stunning, stunning. And I am looking forward to reading The Conditions of Will. I could not find that book on vacation, so it was not included in my haul. The indie bookstores don't always have Jessa Hastings books. They did have Never. I did find Never. That was the only one I found. I could not find any of the Magnolia Parks books, and I could not find The Conditions of Will. But I am looking forward to that book. I do love Jessa's writing. She writes so beautifully. Like, the way she described Neverland and the way she writes is so lyrical and so poetic. It's just beautiful, and I can just picture everything, so that also helped. But yeah, you're not supposed to like Peter, if that's why everybody didn't like this book. I don't know. Let me know if you read this book why you didn't like it, because I'm curious. Or if you did, I don't know. Just let me know. Okay, so those were the 5 books I read. Relatively successful week. I had some very high-rated books. I had some comfort reads, I'd say, and then I had one that kind of made me mad, but it is what it is. So I had a very good week. It was very relaxing. I am not thrilled to be going back to work tomorrow, but such is life. Have to be an adult. So I will see you all. So let me know in the comments below. Again, any comments, thoughts you have about any of these books, if you've read them, if you want to read them. Like I said, please let me know if you've read Never and why you didn't like it. If you didn't like it, I'm curious. So that is all I have for this. Hopefully it's not too long of a video, because it was really just kind of a mini wrap up. But my next video out should be my monthly reset, so look for that in a few days, and you'll see my book haul from the beach, as well as the other books that I've received throughout the month, and we'll kind of go over my book journal and go over all of the things I did this month in a little bit of a different fashion than a monthly wrap-up. So thank you all so much if you've made it this far for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.